Hi everyone, my name is Holly, a fantasy and sci-fi obsessed YouTuber, and though that may be the case, I don't do a recommendations list that often. So today I want to talk about some great books that are often ignored, whether it be on other people's list, some fancy list, Goodreads or Amazon publishes, with amazing new releases always coming out by powerhouse authors. It can certainly be exciting for sure, but some books don't get the spotlight for long, if at all. Now, to some of you hardcore fans out there, you may have heard about a lot of these books, but statistically speaking, a lot of people haven't, or just haven't shown them enough love. So I want to highlight some books that truly have been kind of left out over the years or recently, just some underrated fantasy and sci-fi I've really enjoyed, so hopefully you find something new in today's video. Before we dive into this list, I want to say thank you to today's sponsor, which is glassesusa.com. Maybe you noticed the moment you clicked on this video, or heck, even the thumbnail, but I've had thick black-rimmed glasses for over 10 years, since the start of my YouTube channel, and glassesusa.com gave me the opportunity to try out something different. They offer over 9,000, insert Dragon Ball Z meme, styles of eyeglasses and sunglasses. You can find every style and color imaginable, even some starting at $30. And even if you have a more complicated prescription like me, I have astigmatism, I can't see 5 inches from my freaking face, one eye is worse than the other, but they are perfect, and you can even try out their virtual try-on tool on their website to see what fits you best, which is exactly what I did. You don't even have to leave your home. Like, what the heck, my anxiety is cured. I am literally obsessed with these. I don't think I've owned a pair of glasses that I've liked as much as the ones I'm showing you today. The pair that I'm showing you right here are called West End frames in beige. I actually feel like they have like a slight greenish tint to them, which I don't mind. I think they suit my hazel eyes really nicely. They are super stylish. Like, I might as well just like go walk the runway. Hire me, America's Next Top Model. The next pair I have is part of the Hilary Duff collection. They are called Muse X Hilary Duff Sonia Gold Frame. They are just amazing. They are almost like a wide teardrop frame, though they are like a bigger lens. They are so lightweight, and I am not used to that. And of course, I had to stick to my heart's content and try a pair of black rimmed glasses. So I have these, the Muse Genie black frames. They are much rounder than my old ones. They are so comfortable, clean, sleek. I could not be happier. You get free shipping, free returns, and 100% money back guarantee within 14 days of receiving your glasses. You can go down in the description box below and you'll see a coupon code that will get you a really great offer off your first pair of glasses with glassesusa.com, and thank you so much to them for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so I'm going to start with a book that actually inspired this list, and that is The Wolf and the Whale. This is an adult fantasy that was published by Orbit Books in 2019. I had the opportunity to review it at that time, and anytime I stare at my shelves, as we all do very often I think, I always glance back to it and think, man, more people should read this. And maybe it's because this author hasn't written anything that I know of since this release, so maybe that's why she kind of flies under the radar a bit. This story is more of an experience than anything else. Cinematic survival is the best way to describe it. It's a coming-of-age story unlike anything I've read. You follow a character from when she's literally born into this tribe to as she grows older, trying to survive this very vast, harsh, brutal winter landscape, interacting with the wildlife, whether that's hunting it or befriending it. A lot of mystery surrounding magic, which involves a lot of Norse mythology, a lot of fantastic representation here too. Our main character is a woman, but she was born with the soul of a man. Inuit culture is also heavily present, and it's also mixed with the Norse mythology, and the way the author weaves these two together is breathtaking. The story can be incredibly dark and sad, but leaves you feeling with a lot of hope. I think fans of mythology in general will gobble this story up, as will those with an interest in novels that tackle like the role of magic, lore, and storytelling about daily life in the Arctic wilderness. I will definitely be on the lookout for more books by this author. I hope there will be more in the near future. Next book I think is criminally underrated is The World Gives Way. So this is a recent release actually, and I know you can argue and say there hasn't been enough time for it to make its rounds, you know, but No, you're wrong. It wasn't hyped up enough. It's the least talked about book in terms of like recent Orbit books, I feel like. This author managed to breathe some new life for me when it comes to sci-fi, with an added dose of a newly favorited doomsday novel. It all takes place on a giant spaceship called the World. It's roughly the size of Switzerland, and there is a hole in the hull that is not fixable, so everyone's going to die. You don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen at any moment as you read through the book. You kind of know how, as the main character's monologue describes it in detail for each city she visits. So that's fun. The tension, the atmosphere, there's an ominous narrative that this author has written, and it's one that keeps you on your toes the whole ride through. She makes a real good use of emotion and playing around with life decisions when you know the world is going to fall apart. And then I have Soulkeeper. If you've been watching me for a little while, then you know I've been talking this series up, but this opener is fantastic. The first 100 pages specifically are by far my favorite. Such a great setup that kind of gets you pumped for the series. It's following a priest type character, which is I think unique, deep in the world of magic that has recently resurfaced, and it brings with it dangerous magical creatures hell-bent on destroying humanity. Essentially, he's got to punch a bunch of monsters. The world is much tighter and more intricate than you would expect from an author who has already written a few series in his day, and he's able to keep it open and fresh. There's emotion, challenge for our characters, beautiful visuals including intense action, and even some creepy horror mechanics. It's satisfying from beginning to end, and the series is finished, so it's very bingeable. Great time to get your hands on it. Another book that I would risk my life climbing to the highest mountaintop to just scream my love for it is The Last Mile in Center City. Honestly, when this book was first announced a couple years ago, I didn't expect much, and maybe that's how everyone else felt as well. I mean, this author is a famous actor. He was in the TV series Black Sail, so I mean, like, does he really have the talent to do both? He does. But when I did review the arc, I fell head over heels for the world. The author really uses the environment he's created to his advantage in terms of allowing the characters to explore it. I always mash this book up with The Wolf Among Us meets LA Noire. That is how I pictured it in my head, and maybe that's why I personally enjoyed it so much. And if that's not a good enough pitch, I don't know what is. We have this grungy city where both humans and magical creatures lived, and a catastrophe occurred which led to all magic to stop. It led to a good chunk of the city dead, and the magical creatures suffered the most. Our mercenary for hire investigates for them, solves crimes for them essentially. It's sad, but wholesome in a way. The author really nailed it in the noir sense of things. Book 2 is also great, and I believe there's going to be a third one, which I am so hyped for. I need it immediately, and when I do have it, I will be reading it. I will shove my TBR out of the way to read this third book. And then I have The Bone Houses. I know you can technically say this book isn't underrated because it was in an Outcry box, but I think compared to a lot of other books, this one was more under talked about. I just don't hear it enough in mainstream circles, which is criminal in my opinion. This book is a must, especially if you are a YA fantasy zombie fan. I know what I just said clashes like crazy, but that's exactly what it is. I don't spotlight YA often on my channel, but when I find one that I absolutely love, it will be featured. In fact, it broke the YA fantasy curse for me. It gave me hope that I can, in fact, find a 5-star story in that category. There were original concepts, no insta-love, and the romance that was there wasn't driving the plot along, and it was also really wholesome. It's a friends to lovers, which I way much prefer, and it wasn't just like random and cringy. The story puts so much attention into small details, especially for a standalone, with all the Welsh folklore mixed in. The village it's set in was eerie, especially with the freaking zombies lurking behind the fences. The mountain setting was breathtaking. There was a perfect balance among characters who are so different. There's a gravedigger, a cartographer, an undead pet goat, also a rep for chronic pain, and that's important to see, so I hope to see this one in more conversations. I would love to reread that one actually. The next book is a book I don't physically physically own, which still drives me crazy. I really need to buy myself a copy, but that is Along the Razor's Edge. Rob J. Hayes is an author who I feel like has created an awesome community who embraces his books, gush about them, and just overall enjoys every book he writes, and who I personally need to read more from because this was my first book by him and I absolutely loved it. If you're a casual reader and just looking for something to sink your teeth into, you have that here for sure. It's an indie adult fantasy and it truly feels like the introductory to a villain story. Our protagonist is retelling what happened while she was in the pit, which is a brutal prison deep underground where inmates reside in the pitch dark. And they're basically mining tunnels and being tortured all day. It's bloody, brutal, horrifying at times. There is a strong survival instinct the characters had that makes it feel real, and you can just feel their anger through the pages, and even the enemies have justified motives too. Honestly, no matter what type of fantasy you prefer, there is something that this author has written to check out. His arsenal is honestly impressive, and I look forward to reading more of what he has to offer. Anyways, Along the Razor's Edge is a great book with a great story, and if you're looking to participate in Indie September, add this one to your TBR. And the final book that I think is really underrated and more people need to read is The Song of All. I read this one I think in 2019. It was a pure cover buy and luckily it really surprised me. This author weaves a cinematic tale of adventure and survival, adding history and Scandinavian mythology within an epic frozen tundra. Our main character used to live this brutal life as a warrior killing, but he wants to turn over a new leaf. He runs away, lives a life in this cabin in this remote village with his wife and his baby. But of course, his past is revealed and it destroys everything. There is so much to discover here, but I do want to mention a lot of words and phrases are written in a different language, so following along with the audiobook is a great way to become one with the world properly, if that makes sense. The narrator does a fantastic job pronouncing all these different words, and I really appreciated it at the time. I think it's a book that deserves way more attention and way more love from the book community at large. It's very unique and very satisfying, but I will say it's very much for a specific type of reader. You're going to either really love this book or kind of be indifferent about it. Still, consider giving it a try and check it out. So those are some books that I don't think get enough love, so I just wanted to talk about them today, although this is kind of like a kicking off point because there are so many other books that could have made this list. So I want to hear from you in the comments. What books often get ignored? What books don't get enough love that you really enjoyed reading? I really want to hear from you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out the description box below for a special discount code for glassesusa.com. I could not recommend them enough. And as a person who can give out very critical reviews, that's a lot coming from me. Subscribe if you haven't. I upload videos every single week, sometimes twice a week. And until we meet again, happy reading.